And then also there's the labyrinth walking, there's the slowing down, meditating, and so I was just kind of interesting thinking back this week over the different solutions.
Yeah.
And I've written them into the book, but I want them to become reality. So we still have a long way to go. And
Well, you created a labyrinth for people to have that opportunity to go walk that and get insight themselves.
yeah.
So is that put on at your church on a regular basis?
Yeah, when I was taking my contemplative leadership class, I got the idea we should have a labyrinth at my church. And we were actually having a focus. Our pastor was away on a sabbatical and we were experimenting. And we had a few weeks where we were doing contemplative practices for our church. And I thought, okay, we're going to make a labyrinth. And I decided we had 2 weeks to do it. And one of my friends helped me. We went to Lowe's and Home Depot and we found canvas. And we got 4 pieces of drop cloths because I thought it was too expensive to buy a labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it home, and then I thought we got to sew these together, and I realized I don't have the ability to do this. And so I was talking about it actually at a funeral, and one of the women in the church said, Nancy, I could do that for you. I could sew those together. I took them over to her house. A few days later, her husband walked into our fellowship hall with this wonderfully sewn together piece of cloth. It was suddenly not 4 separate drop cloths, it was one. And so then we started experimenting on what we wanted to draw, and that became the Living Vine Labyrinth. And we did create it in 2 weeks. And it's still a place of walking meditation at my church. When we first opened it, we did First Friday happy hours. And I was working full time. I would usually be really tired on Fridays, and I would come down into the fellowship hall. We turned on some meditative music, and I just found that it re-energized me.
Mm.
I said it was better than beer. But they say the labyrinth is also kind of a thin space, and our labyrinth has
What, a thin space?
thin space. A thin space is where the division between heaven and earth is small. So it's kind of a very spiritual place
Okay.
where sometimes I hear God and listen for God. One thing that happened with our labyrinth is it has vines on it, so we call it the Living Vine Labyrinth. And I mentioned earlier how the labyrinth kind of connects us with the earth, and I really feel that when I walk the labyrinth. It also has flowers on it, and I read that some of the labyrinths are made with the colors of the chakras. And I didn't really know much about the chakras at the time, but I looked it up and I learned the different colors. And so we decided to integrate that into the pattern of the labyrinth. So the chakras, some of the people listening may not know about them, it's a Hindu practice. They believe they're energy centers of the body, beginning with the crown chakra, which is usually purple, which is your connection with the divine, and then the third eye, which is indigo, your intuition, your throat chakra, which is light blue, which is your voice, your heart chakra, which is the green heart chakra, your solar plexus, which is gold, and then your womb is orange, and then the root chakra is lower, the red. And so those colors, we incorporated those, and it's kind of like the rainbow and the. But as I've prayed my labyrinth over the years, I often stop at those flowers and I think about, okay, what is my rootedness? How I think about my ancestors, I think about my family, I think about my roots. I stop at the orange flowers and I think about creativity. How's God calling me to create? I stop at the gold and I think about courage. What do I need courage for in my life today? And I stop at the heart chakras, the green chakras, and I think about how am I called to love and who am I loving today? And then I stop at the light blue and I think, what's Nancy's voice called to say? And that's been really important to me to have a voice in all this. I participate in Toastmasters, and so I'm always writing speeches and trying to speak. And then we go to the third eye, my intuitive. I think about what am I intuitively thinking today, and then my crown, my connection with God, praying and asking God for help. And actually, we begin the labyrinth with the crown chakra, and we end so it's like wrapped in prayer. So so we no longer have our first Friday happy hours with the labyrinth, but we're trying to do it 4 times a year, and our goal this year is to do it during the seasonal changes. So we're hoping to do one when the spring equinox comes, one for the summer solstice, one for the fall equinox, and then for the winter solstice. But,
how big did it turn out to be? It's 4 canvas drop cloths sewn together, and
I think it's about 24 feet wide, 24 by 23, 4 feet by 23 feet, basically. It's a square.
It's beautiful, and the nice thing about it is you can carry it places. I've seen you use it at the Peace Camp and other places where you have like a basket of clean socks so that people can take their shoes off and walk in clean socks, or wash their feet and go barefoot, right? They can wash their feet. Or do you try to?
Yes. And we've had it a lot of different places. We had it at the Cancer Center one time, and some really meaningful things. I remember one person who had helped another person in their cancer journey. They walked it together and just really connected. We've had it at the hospital. One of my friends and I took it to the Marysville, which is a detention facility for women, and that was like one of the most spiritual experiences of my life. When the women, I don't know, there was a palpable spiritual energy in the room that day, and it was just amazing. We took it to the juvenile detention facility once. We've taken it outside. It's gone to the Garden Jubilee with our master gardeners. We've taken it to our church retreat. We're hoping to do this year in June for the summer solstice is to have a worship service by our National Trails Park District office, where they have a little park along the river, and we're hoping to have it out there and give people an opportunity to walk it during worship. So it's crazy, but it's been so meaningful to me personally. I've had such wonderful times at the labyrinth, and some of my friends too just really find it helpful in their prayer life.
Well, I find you really inspiring. And also to think about my work in a different way, because the way I see my work is I can help communicate what scientists are teaching us. Sometimes it's very difficult, the way they speak or the way that their reports are written are just hard for the general public to pick up on. And so I try to distill, what are the basic key concepts that people need to know and understand in order to not be fooled by the misinformation that's out there, and also to be able to support positive things when they arise. So they need basic understanding of the science of climate change. So I'm taking things from outside and sort of filtering them through my skill at communication, and then putting it out in different ways to teach or to communicate about that. You are bringing like a silence and spiritual connection from the inside, and allowing that inspiration to like inform what actions you take and what you do. So it's very interesting for me to think about maybe more I have a feeling that would put more wisdom behind what I do if I embrace some more of your methods of contemplation.
Well, it's a matter of survival too. I think you need to be happy, in yourself, because you could literally kill yourself. And I think you've worked so hard at this that sometimes you do suffer because of it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, when we think about the fact that we are heating up the earth, this earth, which has taken 4.7 billion years to evolve to this level of biodiversity, and we are destroying it, and just since industrialization, really. And if you look at the graphs with the global warming and the release of carbon, our use of carbon, fossil fuels, is causing this problem. It's overwhelming, and it's amazing, and I think what you're doing is so important in trying to help people understand the science. I don't know if they're in denial. I don't know if it's because of all the negative information out there, but Yale actually has a program where they keep polling the American people, and they find now that the majority of people are aware that we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a wide majority of people believe we have a serious problem, and some are very, very concerned about it. So I don't know. I think the problem is becoming more prevalent. How can it not be? But on the other hand, I did a program at the library last night, and at the end I asked, okay, what personal action are you each going to take?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking a little bit about what more we can do collectively. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And several people in the room said they were going to try to recycle more. Now, recycling is important, but it's not going to solve the problem that we have with climate change. And so it's
kind of a
exasperating. It's
scam.
exasperating how, you know, I gave them the graphs. I showed them, you know, what's going on.
Uh-huh.
And recycling doesn't really address the problem of climate change, you know.
No, in a way, it just incentivizes more production of plastic. Because people think
one
it's
person
okay
said
to
they
use
were going to wash their plastic, which you know, plastic's a big problem. I think that's what they were saying. I think we all are aware that plastic is
Sure.
a huge problem. They're finding it. It's
Yeah.
in people now. You know,
yeah.
it's in the fish. It's in the people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, that's why Citizens Climate Lobby to me is really important. But it's also really hard because politicians are receiving money from the fossil fuel industry, who's trying to get them to do the wrong thing.
They're not responsive to the citizens anymore. That's what I see. I remember as a kid, there was a sense that government was responsive to the people.
Mm-hmm.
That if enough people wanted something, or if enough people spoke out about a problem, or even if it wasn't government, like I remember Love Canal, there was an investigative reporter that went and exposed this terrible pollution that was happening in people's basements in their homes and making their children sick. And so this investigative reporter exposed the problem, and then solutions were found. I mean, help for those people for certain. And so there was a sense that when there was a problem, you rise it, you know, it comes up, it gets addressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ever since the 1980s, I haven't seen that. I've seen the responsiveness of government go down and down and down to where the problems are there, and you see the problems, but you don't see them being resolved.
Yeah. So, I mean, they did resolve the issue about the ozone layer. They took action on that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a big landfill in our area, the Tremont City landfill. I don't know if you've heard about that.
No.
It's been a big environmental problem in Clark County in our area, and it's been going on probably at least 20 years. Well, they are finally starting to clean it up, but it's taken so much. And I know at one point I thought all of our elected leaders agreed we needed to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
We had meeting after meeting after meeting, and still nothing was happening. But things are happening now. So I think we have to keep working. I was listening to one of your podcasts where you actually interview my husband, and you talked about how we aren't having very many heroes these days. And I thought, yes, Karen, that's exactly right. We need some heroes. You know, during the civil rights movement, we had Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke out prophetically. We need heroes today. You know, we need a hero to come forward, and people may start to listen to him, you know, or her.
Oh,
you know, like, well, you think about Greta Thunberg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's a young woman. Is she from Sweden? Is it? I always forget which country. One of the Scandinavian countries. And she actually is autistic even, and she has spoken out about the climate. She's addressed the Congress of the United States.
But my point is, there's a heroism in every person. And because you're born on Earth at this time, because you're alive at this time in history, that's you have the opportunity to rise to this challenge and be part of this heroic endeavor. And that it is arguably the biggest, grandest endeavor that humanity has ever encountered.
Yeah, so I see that.
Because it's global, and it's and it involves everything. It involves the continuation of our species and all the species that we love and depend upon. And
Yeah, so I see that heroism in you, Karen, and what you're doing and your work, relentless. You know, you've been working for I don't know how many years now, and you've been making it your priority.
Mm-hmm.
You even quit working full time. You're trying to make this your priority. And, you know, I don't think I've been working as hard as you, but I've been trying to do things too. And I've got 5 of my books now. Where
I know, you
the
have
earth.
a lot to show for it. You have a lot to show for it. I do things that are more ephemeral. I do a presentation here and a presentation there, and they're gone.
And I think we have to realize we're not alone. There are a lot of people working with us. I don't know if you've done the Act of Hope training. I mentioned that book earlier, Act of Hope by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnstone. They wrote the book, and that was the one that inspired me to get my Letters from the Earth. But then they've come out with a second version, I believe in 2022. And in conjunction with the second version of that book, they launched Act of Hope training. And you can go online and take their Act of Hope training. And they talk about the spiral of the work that reconnects. And it's a process where you admit that we're all human, that we're exasperated, that we're angry, that we're concerned. But then you start to realize you're not the only one, that there are a lot of other people. And you start to think about that there are a lot of people just like you. And that you're not alone in trying to work for the earth. And you start to redefine that, all the communities around the earth that are working to try to preserve the earth. And to be hopeful and to keep taking action in that spiral, to not be down, you know. And I think that there's a lot of people that are working together to try to resolve things, and so we're not alone. You know, we are heroes, and I agree with you. We've got to do everything we can do, and we've got to be working with the other people that are doing what they can do also.
And something about working with other people. I think a really important part of this is something you were director of a mediation center and taught mediation as well. And I also did that and taught mediation, set up peer mediation programs in schools and mediated neighbor conflicts and things. And I think that's a key component that somehow isn't as prominent as it should be in the whole climate movement. It's hard to work with people, even if you like them, even if you're if you're working toward the same goal, that helps, because you can not like them but still respect them because they're helping you achieve this goal that you're both interested in. So that helps cohesiveness of a group. But still, working with people is hard, and especially people who care so much about something. We are principled people, and therefore it makes it hard for us to compromise with each other to get things done. So I see a lot of conflict in peace groups and in climate groups, environmental groups, and that's why I think mediation needs to be taught and spread more, and it needs to be used as a first resort, not a last resort. It needs to just be, that's just what we do. We have a disagreement, we sit down and clarify. You know,
I agree with you. Yeah, those skills are really important. You know, to incorporate into whatever you're doing. Yeah,
I think it would help the whole movement if. So that's another thing you could do, Nancy. you could teach more about mediation and to help these groups work together better.
I've got this one book we haven't talked about, Revelation in the Roots.
Okay.
Emerald Isle, which isn't specifically about the earth, but it's about the divisions within our political system and how we need to come together and listen to each other. And they go on a retreat in Ireland at the Shalem Center for Peace in North Ireland, it's based on an actual place in Ireland. You know, Ireland is a very divided country also. They call it the Troubles. And Corrymeela, which is a retreat center in Northern Ireland, has brought together the Protestants and the Catholics for years to try to bring peace. In my book, we go to the Peace Center, and the characters are trying to learn to listen to each other. And it's those kind of processes which we know through our experience with mediation and facilitation that can really help people start to come together and find their common grounds. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was trying. I feel like until we come together as Republican Democrats in the United States to solve problems, we're not going to solve climate change. So we can't have to stop calling each other names, and we need to look together at the problem of what's happening for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
That was the message of this book.
And it's such a good message because here's what I see too is that we all have different skills and different skills to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And people we disagree with politically, they have other skills too that we need.
Mm-hmm.
We're all needed.
I love, like, when I was first starting to learn about the depth of the crisis at that workshop where I made my prayer beads, they also talked to us about the Awakening the Dreamer, and later I went to an Awakening the Dreamer seminar, and that was from the Anchuar indigenous people of Ecuador. And when the multinational corporations were encroaching on their rainforest and threatening their way of life, they prayed and listened for solutions, and in their dreams, some northerners came to help them. And one day some northerners came on an eco tour, and they said, you were in our dream. You came here to help us. I said, oh, really? But they did help the Anchuar people, and together they've started this movement called Awakening the Dreamer. And they have an ancient prophecy that the condor and the eagle fly together. And the condor represented for them their wisdom, their indigenous wisdom. It's a very powerful symbol in their culture. The eagle, on the other hand, represented probably the American culture in the West, in our technology. So if the wisdom of the earth can fly together with the technological expertise, we can solve the problems of the earth. And I just thought that was really beautiful, beautiful prophecy. And I'm just hoping, that we will work together. Thomas Berry says we will go into the future as one single sacred community, or we will perish in the desert. We have to work together. He said this is the Ecozoic age in which we must come to terms with our connection, with our relationship with the earth, and start to take care of it.
Those are wise words, and those are words I need to contemplate about. Contemplate. So where should people go to purchase your books? Where should they find them? Where's the best place to buy them?
Yeah, all my books are on Amazon. So if you just look, do a search for Nancy Flinchbaugh on Amazon, you can find my Amazon page. They're available as paperbacks. They're available Kindle and Audible. You can also go to my website and find out more information about books. I have two websites, nancyflinchbaugh.com and spiritualseedlings.com. I'm on social media. I'm trying to become more active there. I have actually a pretty active YouTube channel, and I've interviewed, especially on my Spiritual Seedlings interviews related to the book Awakening. I've also done a series on talking about race. I went to Africa last summer, so right now I'm getting ready to launch interviews that I've been recording with people that went to Africa with me, because I think that's really important, to talk about race, to talk about Africa. And so that will be coming out too. I'm writing, and I'm going to write another book about Africa. So
you are so productive in retirement. I wish people could retire earlier so we could have more productive years, more productive and creative years to do all this fun stuff. I wish I could retire.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to retire when I was 65, and I do find myself slowing down, but I also still have a lot of creative energy and ability to keep working. So I feel very fortunate.
Well, I want to tell you how much I admire and respect you, and just admire so much that you've accomplished and your creativity, and I love your books, and there's any of them that I don't love. Mariah of the Wind, I think, is my favorite because I kind of really identify with the character. And this one I need to spend more time with. And Letters from the Earth has been wonderful for me. That's been really one that has made me listen to the earth more and connect and consciously want to go out into nature more. And this is the one I started with Revelation in the Cave, which was just great to me, because at the time I was kind of fed up with hearing from evangelicals about how we didn't have to take care of the earth because God was going to obliterate it and make a new one anyway. And so our mission was just to use it up and wear it out. And that bothered me. So this new interpretation of the book of Revelations helped, and just the idea that, hey, you know, there's some misunderstanding going on there that could be clarified. And so that helped me to reach more of a peace with that. And I loved this one because I, too, have Irish heritage. Who doesn't in America? I think it's everywhere. But I love the adventure. I love vicarious adventure. So I didn't have to burn any fossil fuels to go to Ireland by reading this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they'll take you on a tour. One of my friends said that to me. Uh-huh. I don't have to go to Ireland now, Nancy, because I got to go on your book. I feel like I was already there.
Yeah, a tour, a lovely tour of it. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for all your work for Gaia, for our dear shared planet. And is there anything you'd like to, anything else that I didn't ask you, or that you'd like to let people know?
Well, it seems like we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And I, again, want to just thank you for your work, Karen. You know, it's amazing what you've been doing, and I really admire you. I don't know anybody really that has taken this issue on with the fervor and with the creativity and the heart that you do. And so thank you for doing that. And I just think we got to keep working at it. And I just want to encourage you to have fun. I want everybody to have fun and to really enjoy this amazing planet. Get outside, you know, celebrate, dance. That's what Gaia told me. And I, you know, I know the letters from the earth, you know, were a message to me, and it's been such a gift, you know, to really live in the moment, to savor the people, the food, to dance, to slow down, to take time, all of those messages, you know. And I think if the earth does heat up beyond the point where humans can live here, people will no longer be able to enjoy what we're enjoying today. So it's important to live as fully as possible. That's one of the reasons I'm so busy in my life, is trying to live my life fully. It's a little bit like a hospice situation. So, but I agree with you that we can be surprised, and we are hopefully going to be surprised that we're going to be able to turn the situation around, and got to keep working at it. So do what is your job to do, and I'll keep doing what I can do. Karen's doing so much, you know, so don't give up, but get involved. Thank you.
And seek out your peeps. Seek out the community of people. And CCL is a great place to start. Citizens Climate Lobby, great place to start to connect to people. Well, I want to thank you all for listening. This has been Climate Agents, Agents of Change. Thank you.